Hi, welcome back to the Quiet Zone. I'm Susan Patang, your host for today's video lesson. And this is one that a lot of us have experienced, dealing with a toxic work environment. So if you work with a toxic boss or in a toxic office or workplace, here are some tips that are going to help you get through. So the first step is to identify the poison. The definitions of toxic and hostile can be different. Is there discrimination? Is your ability to do your job hindered? And if so, how? Is there illegal harassment? Is there an unsafe working environment? Or is it just personalities involved that make doing your job impossible? And there's a reason to identify this poison. Okay. Um, in this video, we're going to learn skills to handle difficult personalities and unrealistic expectations that can occur in any work environment. And yes, they are skills that anyone can use to handle uncomfortable situations themselves. So when you're questioning whether or not this is something you should handle yourself, um, if you are being physically or sexually harassed, report it to HR or management. Your safety always comes first, and that always applies to physically unsafe working environments too. So if there is actual harassment or discrimination or something going on, yes, you can try to talk to whoever is doing it before you get HR involved. Absolutely, and these strategies will help you do that. But please do not be unsafe. Okay, so let's get into it. And this is the page where you should be focusing all your attention through the whole thing. And that is the 6 important things to remember when you are experiencing any kind of conflict or toxic work environment or hostile work environment. The first is to always stay calm. These things are super, super important to remember. And there are strategies that you can learn on how to stay calm in stressful situations. I could do an entire video lesson on just that, but suffice it to say for now, we're going to just say stay calm. Number 2, practice the golden rule. So treat other people the way that you would want to be treated. So if you were having a bad day and you made a mistake and you said something snarky to somebody, would you want them to jump down your throat, or would you want them to say, hey, what's up with you today? So just practice the golden rule and treat other people the way you would want to be treated. And this goes along with that too, is to walk a mile in their moccasins. So maybe that toxic work environment that's being created by Joe in the next cubicle from you, he might be sick, his wife might be sick, who knows what's going on with him. Maybe there's some kind of tragedy happening in his family. Maybe he just never learned how to process his anger. Whatever it might be, that doesn't excuse their behavior. But by walking a mile in someone else's moccasins, by trying to imagine what it is that they're going through, it gives us a piece of compassion that we can have for them. And that's one of the things that helps make it easier to stay calm in a hostile work environment. Also examine your own motivations. Are you bringing some other external stress into the office and turning it into what feels like a hostile work environment? Yes, it's sometimes we have too much work to do and not enough time to do it. Most of the time, that's what happens because our employers have to cut back on labor in order to stay in business sometimes. But make sure you're not just having sour grapes over not getting a promotion or being annoyed because your next door neighbor keeps parking too close to your driveway or whatever. Make sure your motivations are pure too. Always be solution oriented and try to find solutions to those problems when you are identifying the toxins. What are some positive and constructive things that you can do to correct those situations that are making your workplace hostile or toxic? And also always remember to be cooperative, collaborative, and willing to compromise. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about these in a second. One really fantastic skill, and you may already know how to do this, but are you using it, is reflective listening. Okay, so when people start getting out of control or things start getting hostile or toxic, you can start using statements that look like this. It sounds like you're upset about this. It looks like there's a problem that's brewing that we need to solve. I'm hearing that you're uncomfortable with the way we're doing things here. You seem to think that I'm not doing the right things. Okay. By identifying what you're hearing the other person say, you're not only validating them as human beings because they may be upset about whatever their boss may be breathing down their neck, um, but you're also clarifying. And that's important to clarify what it is that you think you're hearing, because sometimes when we have a toxic, a coworker or boss or situation, it has more to do with a lack of communication and understanding than it does with an actual toxic human being. So somebody may not be able to communicate well. So make sure that you use that reflective listening to not only deflect their anger or their hostility, but also to clarify what's going on and be solution oriented. Okay. Don't complain, don't whine, don't go running off to HR with stupid crap. Okay. Yes, if there's a serious situation, of course you want to go to HR. But offer solutions. Okay, so be clear on what you want and need. Okay, so if you have somebody who comes up to you and starts ranting and raving about this report and how come it's not done and blah, 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 you can say, wow, it sounds like you're really worried that this report isn't going to be done on time. Well, here's how we can fix the problem. Okay, we can give Betty part A, we can give Joe part B, and we can give Sally part C, and I'll assemble all the parts, or whatever the situation might be. There seems to be an issue, and here's how I think we can fix it. And if you're not sure if you have a solution, ask them, because when people come up with the solution, they're more likely to stick to it. Okay. How many times, and this has happened to me, I can't tell you how many times this has happened, where you have come up with a solution to a problem and nobody wants to hear it. But when they come up with exactly the same solution, it's the solution to everything on the planet, right? If it's their idea, oh my gosh, who cares whose idea it was? Okay. It doesn't matter. You want to get the job done so that things don't get toxic and hostile, correct? So if you're not sure, or if you want them to come up with a solution, you can say, well, how can we work together to fix this? Or how would you like me to proceed? Or which solution to the problem do you prefer? Or what do you think is a really good way we could handle this without this happening? Okay, be creative, but let them come up with some solutions too. And if you have to, with toxic and hostile work environments, you're probably going to have to pull this out frequently, which is the XYZ limit setting formula. And this is how it works. When you get so angry, it makes me upset. I'd like for us both to be calm while we're working to figure this out. When you yell at me, I get angry too. I'd like you to stop now. When I get more work to do than I have time for, I get frustrated. I'd like to work with you on prioritizing or delegating some of this extra work. When you dump your extra work on me, I get frustrated because then I can't get my own stuff done. Could you find someone else to ask, please? Okay. So you see that when I'm using I'm using a tone that is firm, but it's still cooperative. I'm not being hostile. I'm not being as angry, okay? Because we want to be solution oriented. We want to solve the problem. If you want to vent, go outside and kick a rock or something. Keep it cool, keep it calm. Remember our 6 strategies for handling distress, and that is to stay calm, okay, and to be solution oriented. So this XYZ formula is fantastic for cutting back somebody who is pushing on you too hard, if you have a toxic boss or if you have a toxic coworker especially. Okay, build your self-confidence, okay, because when your self-confidence and your self-esteem are high, you will be able to handle all kinds of situations comfortably, whether or not they're toxic, okay? So one of the biggest parts of that is your self-talk. What do you say to yourself about this situation? My office sucks. I can't stand this. I hate going to work every day. Or can you reframe that and rephrase that? to I've had to deal with this before. I know I can deal with this. I'm learning new strategies to handle this toxic work environment. I've been to HR and we're going to start the ball rolling on how to fix it. Whatever. Give yourself credit for jobs well done. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a round of applause. Despite what the boss said, I did a great job on that project. I'm really proud of myself that I got that report done before the end of the day and it wasn't even due until tomorrow. Okay. Create affirmations about times when you were able to handle those toxic people or situations well before in the past, because that's going to give you the confidence that you need. Because when you create an affirmation on something that you have already done on a real event, your subconscious cannot argue with you or sabotage you. So I have been able to handle my toxic boss before. I have been able to manage the guy in the cubicle next to me well in the past. I can do it again. Okay. And if you can't think of a time when you were able to do it, think of a situation where maybe if you had handled things a little differently, you would have had a better result. And practice that in the mirror. What are some things that you could have said or done that would have changed the outcome? Practice those things and then pat yourself on the back for being smart enough to think of the solution, even though it wasn't the real event, because then you can now go to work and put that solution into play because you practiced it. Now, another thing, this is really super broad-based and generic, okay? There is a better way to get along with toxic people like your boss, your mother-in-law, or that jerk in the next cubicle that you're always dealing with. Take my power lesson, how to handle conflict without stress and anxiety. And that will teach you how to manage your boss and still stay sane. And after one 45-minute session, you will be able to handle both the boss and your mother-in-law. You'll get a video lesson, a written cheat sheet with instructions, a one-on-one session with me, and strategies that you can start using right now to diffuse that jerk in the cubicle next door. All of this for $97. So you can get yours at www.thequietzonecoaching.com/shop. Okay. Even if you end up on my homepage, that's okay, because right on the banner, there will be a link for you to follow to get this. It's really super important to be able to manage conflict and criticism and learn how to communicate and ask for what you want. And that's what this class will do for you. So if you would like to be the king or queen of conflict resolution in your office and diffuse the hostile and toxic situations, go to my website and get the class. I want to thank you for listening today, and I hope to see you really soon. Namaste. Have a wonderful, amazing day.